Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Alright, so the question I keep asking is, how long can they keep this up? Well, I'm not so sure how long this is gonna last. You know, the Democrats are trying to come back on offense here. This was their big counter-strike, but it feels like offensive posturing, like they're faking a little bit of peacocking, when really they're assuming a defensive position. You know, they're certainly ambitious and they've made all these claims about Kamala, but now they have to defend the candidate. And that right there, well, it's a task, and I think a pretty tough task that they're not going to be so successful in. And like I've been saying, I'm already starting to see some kinks in the armor. This latest interview with Byron Donalds and George Stephanopoulos, in my view, shows you just how unsustainable the practice of defending Kamala Harris will be in the long term. Let's take a look at the clown show currently operating at ABC News. We've got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. Alright folks, so we're going to play a longer than normal clip and then we're going to talk about it. Just take a look at this.
And you just repeated the slur again. If it doesn't matter, why do you all keep questioning her identity? She's always identified as a black woman. She is biracial. She has a Jamaican father and an Indian mother. She's always identified as both. Why are you questioning that?
Well, George, first of all, this is something that's actually a conversation throughout social media right now. There were a lot of people who are trying to figure this out. But again, that's a side issue, not the main issue. The main issue.
Sir, one second. You just did it. You just did it again.
Of the United States.
Why do you insist on questioning her racial identity?
You want me to talk?
I want you to answer my question.
George, now that you're done yelling at me, let me answer. He talked about it on the stage yesterday in Atlanta for 2 minutes? He spent more than 35, 40 minutes going after her record, talking about how radical of a senator that she was. She was the most liberal senator in the United States, in the United States Senate. That is a fact. He talked about the job that she did as vice president of the United States, a job, I will add, which has been a failure for the American people. I know you guys like to glom on to this that he talks about in jest or in a serious manner for about a minute or so, but what you do not cover is the litany of failures of Kamala Harris. That's what you're not covering, George.
So questioning somebody's racial identity for a couple minutes is okay?
George, I'm going to tell you again, he brought it up. AP is the one that wrote the headline when she first came in to the United States Senate. Didn't talk about her being black, talked about her being the first Indian American senator. AP brought that up. I mean, George, we could have this conversation for the entire segment, but none of this matters to the American people. What matters to the American people is, are we going to have the same policies of the Biden-Harris administration that has been destructive of the American people, or are we going to have the policies of the Trump administration, which put America first, had low inflation, prosperous Americans, no matter your race, no matter your color, no matter your creed, and a foreign policy that kept America safe? Those are the facts that truly matter, because this issue is going to come and go. The lives of the American people is what's going to remain, and that's what matters more than anything else.
If it doesn't matter, I don't understand why you keep on repeating it, why the president keeps on repeating it, why those introducing the president yesterday
George,
keep on
actually,
repeating
I'm
it.
not the one who keeps repeating it. George, you're the one that's bringing it up now. That's you.
You've done it,
I understand why
sir.
You've done it.
You've done it 3 times. Every single answer you gave me. Now let me finish, sir.
George,
every single answer you gave, you repeated the slur.
Asked me, George. That's why I'm pushing back on you now. George, you asked me the question 3 times. I responded, but I'm.
And every single time you repeat the slur. That is exactly my point. You simply can't say that it's wrong.
George, so then what you're saying, and I want to get off this topic because it's not the only thing that's going on. But George, now you're saying that AP is the one that slurred Kamala Harris, because those are the facts. You can go to the internet and look at the clips, George, if you want to, or we can talk about this now. I prefer to talk about the future of our country, because the American people are struggling. The American people do need serious policy decisions to be made, and they need serious leadership on the world stage. Kamala Harris has not proven that she can do that. Donald J. Trump has proven that he can do that.
AP did not say that Kamala Harris is not black. She is biracial. She is Indian. She is black. You continue to repeat the fact that you continue to repeat the slur. I don't understand why you and the president do it, but it's clear you're not going to say that it's wrong. And you've now established that for our audience.
The word I used in the intro is all that needs to be said. What a frickin' clown show. What a waste of everyone's time. Democrats are so funny. I mean, their hypocrisy just sees no bounds. Nobody wants to talk policy or substance, says the people who literally can only ever talk about one little thing, and that's Kamala's race. All they want to do is play defense as anti-racist guardians. All they ever talk about are these supposed bigot and racist attacks on Kamala Harris instead of anything of actual substance. So first off, they are the biggest hypocrites on the planet, and secondly, this talking point that they think is so great for them is so obviously disingenuous, right? I'm not the only person seeing it. You notice how they always do the same thing. They'll take a statement, or they'll take a general stance that exists on the right, and then they'll reframe it or reword it to make it sound a whole lot more sinister. People are questioning her ethnicity, questioning her identity. No, that's not what people are saying. We're not taking the Joe Biden approach.
If you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, and you ain't black.
We're not claiming that Kamala Harris isn't black. We understand that her father's Jamaican. There have been some claims that her father's actually part Indian, but I'm not even going to go that far. I think her father is half Irish and let's assume half black, comes from Jamaica. That makes Kamala Harris a quarter black. Nobody's denying that, but rather what's being argued, what's being said, the real criticism, or I guess the claim is that Kamala Harris obviously uses her mixed race background to dishonestly pander for votes with particular minority groups. That's the central claim. You know, there's a larger, more nuanced conversation to have, but George Stephanopoulos and the rest of these leftist hacks just want to keep repeating the line, "Why are you questioning her identity? You're racist." It's such a dishonest and partisan approach to this conversation. And I personally think most people are going to be able to see through this nonsense. It's not a valid defense. You know, Kamala Harris's approach with the black community has essentially been as disconnected, dishonest, and frankly just cringe as Hillary Clinton's. It's kind of the same thing, and that's what people ridicule. That's where the whole right-wing criticism comes into play. I mean, the moment Kamala Harris becomes a political candidate on the national stage back in 2020, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, she's making appearances on Charlemagne's show talking about Snoop Dogg, Tupac, and smoking the weeds. Yeah, it's obvious she didn't grow up in black American culture, but rather she grew up in Canada. Yet here she is, all of a sudden, in a desperate pitch to black voters, talking about being in the streets and colored greens, and talking with a southern accent at one of her recent rallies, I think in Atlanta. That's what people are talking about. And obviously that's the conversation that's happening at dinner tables and in bars, and the Democrat mainstream media thinks it's a good idea to go with this defense. Obviously we're having a different conversation, which of course means that obviously the media doesn't actually want to talk about the truth. This is their attempt to obfuscate the truth. They don't want you to talk about Kamala Harris's dishonest race pandering, so they'll shut the conversation down with accusations of bigotry and racism. It's the same thing every time, the same freaking MO. And again, the way we win in these situations is by not letting the Democrats shut us down. And to be honest, I thought even Byron Donalds let George Stephanopoulos kind of intimidate him there for a second. Do not back down from the claim. Don't try to run away from it just because these leftoid hacks try to make it controversial. The Democrats want to make this talking point taboo, but you can't let them steer the conversation. Kamala Harris is obviously a dishonest fraud, so just frickin' say it. Say it just like those boys in the barbershop were saying on CNN just the other day. Kamala Harris has no claim to black culture and the black community. She is simply faking it to pander for votes and drum up enthusiasm. It's true, and it's not racist to say that. Anyways, that's pretty much what I got for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.